So, can everyone see the importance of which side your hips face for this back tape? So we're just going to look at that in a bit more depth. So if my hips are on this side, even if I make this hook and I start to try and come out to Issa's back, the more my hips face this side, the more pressure I'm putting on my left hip and left knee. Okay? And everyone see how the more I start to walk around to this side, the more my knee flares out. And if we all remember, one of the most common forms of injury in 50-50 is the knee flaring out excessively like this. Okay? Basically, the more Issa's knee points basically outwards and towards the mat, and in some cases, the more his foot goes closer towards his upper body, like so. So if I try and take the back with my hips facing my left side, there's potentially a chance, let's say Issa grabs like an overhook on my ankle, okay? And he really traps my foot here. The more I start to go around towards his back, the more pressure I'm putting on my knee. Now, Issa decides to put his chest on the mat, I'm also putting myself in a belly down ankle lock, okay? The other thing as well is I haven't actually been able to take Issa's foot off the floor. However, if I use my hook and I turn everything towards the other side, like so, now I've lifted his foot off the floor, and now there's no outwards pressure on my knee. Now it's a lot harder for Issa to go belly down because he can't put this foot on the floor, and it's a lot easier for me to look at freeing my knee. I'm going to start to turn my knee downwards, and I'm trying to dig my knee on the inside of his thigh. I can also use this grip that I have on his pant to actually make this leg a bit lighter. It's already going to be light because this foot is not touching the floor. So with this overhook grip that I have, holding onto the pants, if I can throw my forearm and elbow underneath his calf, now I have an ability to push upwards, to push his leg upwards, When I do this, I actually don't have to use as much dexterity in my hips. I can kind of just throw his leg over my shin. And even if he does hold onto my foot still, it's a very weak grip, and he's basically just holding onto my foot whilst I'm making my way towards his back. So for this back take, remember we want to keep this foot off the floor. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to guide his foot in front of him like so. And as I start to do this, I'm sitting up, using my other elbow as base, and I'm pulling his hips right in between the space between my legs. Like so. The moment we land, I've caught an underhook straight away so that I can start to work for his back. Make my seatbelt, and I pull him away from my underhook side, and then I throw my first hook. I'm usually going to make the first hook the hook that is the underhook side. I'm going to try and throw it all the way across his body so that I have the option of mounting if he hops over this other leg. So what I mean by this is, let's say I just throw my first hook into it. If Issa hops over my bottom hook, okay, so if he hops over towards the right, there is a chance, especially if he puts his back flat on the floor, there is a chance I lose the position entirely. But if I've thrown my foot all the way over the top, if I start to heist my hips up like this, I can actually start to chest it. And if I lose this shoulder and he starts to put this shoulder on the mat, I can come straight towards the mat as well. So make sure whenever you're taking the back from a standard seatbelt that we're throwing that first hook all the way across the body, almost like we're trying to get a body triangle. And what this does is this basically gives us a few backup options, and it allows us to essentially recapture the back take if we lose it. So we don't always want to just throw one hook. Okay, sometimes we only have the option of throwing in one hook, especially in a fast scramble. But ideally, we throw it all the way across so that we have the option of reclaiming the back or the mount if my opponent is very good at escaping at early stage back. Once I'm here, I'm just going to rock to the other side, step on the hip, and then I can put both my hooks. Okay, and then after this, we can go back to our body triangle. Alright, let's go. 2, 3. Really common response that we get from this back take entry, particularly when I'm starting to already progress towards the back. So what's happening right now is I'm starting to see Issa's back. I'm starting to get this angle where I'm getting behind him. So if he wants to minimize the chances of me taking his back, what he can start to do is he can start to put the weight of his body into the far side. So you're going to start to put this hip onto the mat. Already, the angle has changed. Okay, if he comes up again, start to come up, see how I'm now directly behind him. If he comes back, I'm not directly behind him. Okay, I'm a little bit more perpendicular. I can't really see his back as well. Now, if he wants to, he can start to put this hand on the floor, and he can start to rotate his trunk so that his chest faces me. And now I completely don't see his back anymore. It's a lot harder for me to actually take his back. So what I can start to do from here, against this scenario, which is very common, is I can now start to use what is known as a crab ride, and I can actually start to continue my sequence from here and be just as offensive as the previous technique that I showed.
This series is going to be split up into 3 separate instructionals. The first part is going to be on upper body guards, the second part is going to be on lower body guards, and then the third part is going to be the hybrid guards of the upper and lower body. For this instructional that is soon to be released, part 1, which is upper body guards, we're solely looking into the main, most high percentage upper body guards in the gi. So this is going to include our double sleeve guard, our collar sleeve guard, our lasso guard variations, as well as our collar sleeve variations, whether it's a cross collar or a straight collar grip. I've structured this instructional to be very user-friendly and easily digestible for the viewer. My goal for this instructional is to give you guys a sound understanding of all the small little battles that you have to win in order to maintain your guard, off balance from your guard, and obviously successfully attack from your guard. Conversely, I also want to give you guys a sound understanding of what your opponent is trying to do when they're inside your guard, trying to shut down your guard and dismantle your guard. Overall, if you can grasp these ideas, then you'll be able to actually have a sound understanding of how to play open guard in the gi. This instructional will be available at BJJ Fanatics, so if you're interested in purchasing a copy for yourself, make sure to head over to their website.